till I can't no more.
I got the horses in the bag. Horse stock is a tag.
Hi everyone and welcome to Protocol 36. Recently set photos have leaked in the filming of MCU Spider-Man 3, which is a truck that's labelled Feast. Now Feast, as we know, is heavily linked with Martin Lee, aka Mr. Negative. They appeared in the comics first, but became very popular thanks to Spider-Man PS4, which features Feast heavily, as that was the place Aunt May worked at, and where Peter helped as well. And of course, Mr. Negative was a major villain in that game as well. Now this led many people to believe whether or not Mr. Negative will appear in MCU Spider-Man 3. And there's another set photo which may or may not hint at a major Spider-Man character, which we're going to talk about later in the video. So when it comes to Feast, many people speculate that Aunt May in the MCU will be working there, as in Far From Home she was working in a charity organization. However, I don't think Aunt May will be working at Feast in the MCU, though it is very possible and I could definitely be wrong. In the MCU and especially in Far From Home, we know that she was working at the Salvation Army, and even though she could have moved, it's very unlikely since we don't exactly know the time gap between Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man 3, but it's safe to say that there is somewhat of a significant time drop between those films, as we know that Spider-Man 3 will be taking place during the Christmas period thanks to other set photos. But will Martin Lee appear in the film? Personally, I don't think so, and if he was going to appear, it would most likely be in a minor role, a background character, or even a cameo where he appears for a split second. However, I don't think he will play a major role in the film, definitely not as much as Spider-Man PS4. We know that both Mr. Negative and Feast played an important role in Spider-Man PS4, and even Feast appearing in Spider-Man Miles Morales, when Miles in both games did actually volunteer to help out in order to cope with his father's death by helping other people in need. Not to mention the movie already has a lot going on, such as the fact that we know that the film will be going into Peter Parker's identity crisis. Also the fact that both Alfred Molina and Jamie Foxx will be reprising their roles as Doc Ock and Electro respectively. Benedict Cumberbatch coming back to the role of Doctor Strange. And let's not get started with the rumours, such as Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming back as their own respective Spider-Man. And of course, Charlie Cox being heavily rumoured that he will be reprising his role as Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. So even though I think Mr. Negative won't appear in the film, if not all that much, I wouldn't be surprised if he does play a major role in the future of the MCU as Peter Parker's future villain. It would make a lot of sense since the MCU has been known to set up their characters to eventually pick up their comic book mantle, so they could definitely be doing the same for Martin Lee, as I can definitely imagine Tom Holland's Peter Parker having more than just 3 films in the MCU. Not to mention, not only hasn't Martin Lee appeared in any Spider-Man film so far, but he's also one of the newest Spider-Man villains out there, one of the most interesting ones out there, especially after the success of Spider-Man PS4. So even though I don't think Martin Lee will play a huge role in the film, I do think that he will become Mr. Negative in the future. But it does beg the question, why is there a Feast truck in Spider-Man 3? It could be because Peter Parker needs a place to stay after his secret identity was exposed. In order to kind of lay low, he would probably go to a homeless shelter in order to protect himself and his family, probably even him and May staying there because they wouldn't be able to go back to the old home. And in the van it does say Forest Hill, which is a nod to the area Peter Parker lives in the comics in Queens, which is a nice reference. But if I had to guess why there's a Feast truck there, I think it's just a reference to the character and just a fun little Easter egg, especially now since he became very popular among both fans and general audiences. Now onto the set photo. Around the same day, there's a photo of someone with a motion capture suit when they were filming Spider-Man 3, which a lot of people were speculating that that's Miles Morales. Personally, I don't think so, since I don't think Marvel Studios and Sony would allow something this big to be in public, and people are saying that this could link with Feast, since in the game, as we know, that's where Miles was working along with May and Peter. So a lot of people are speculating that in the MCU the same thing could happen, and to be honest, I don't think so. I think it's a little too early to bring Miles into the MCU right now. We know that he definitely exists thanks to Homecoming, when Aaron Davis, aka the Prowler, he has a nephew, and we all know who he's talking about. So I definitely don't think it's Miles. If anything, it could be a stunt double, probably for Jamie Foxx or someone else. However, what about you guys? Do you think Martin Lee will appear in Spider-Man 3? Do you think Feast will have a major role in the film? And do you think the leaked set photo is Miles Morales? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. If you enjoyed this video, please like, and want more, subscribe. To begin, Protocol 36.